Episodes of Palette Swap are suggested by viewers like you. If there's a character you'd like me to analyze, let me know in the comment section down below. Good morrow everyone, Silvershire here, and welcome back to Palette Swap, where I rank the costumes and character designs of your favorite fighting games. And by your favorite fighting games, I really do mean your favorite fighting games because I'm not a Mortal Kombat fan. Today, we're looking at Liu Kang's biggest fangirl, Kitana. But before we begin our analysis, here's a quick refresher course on who Kitana is and what we should be looking for in her character designs. Kitana was born to the king and queen of Edenia, a beautiful paradise realm so perfect that you just know something terrible is going to happen to it. And that something terrible came in the form of Outworld's immortal warlord Shao Kahn, who conquered Edenia and kidnapped the baby Kitana to raise as his own daughter/bodyguard/assassin. She served him loyally for many years, but her past could not remain a secret forever. When she finally learned the truth, she joined forces with Earthrealm, including her future lover, the Shaolin monk Liu Kang, to fight back against her surrogate father and free her homeworld from his tyrannical rule. And then she died and got resurrected by a big dragon guy, and then she died again, and then the universe got rebooted, and then she died and got resurrected by a different guy, and then there was time travel. Look, I'm not gonna pretend I know what's going on after MK3. Kitana's debut appearance for Mortal Kombat 2 focuses on the assassin part of her character, giving her a mask and a skin-tight suit that evoke pop-cultural depictions of kunoichi. I especially like how her mask and headband mimic the shape of a classic ninja hood. Like most early MK designs, it's very plain, but I can't really hold that against it because any fine details of her costume would have been lost in the digitization process. I do appreciate that there are some black bands to break up the expanse of blue though. Speaking of which, this deep blue is a great choice because it's fitting both for royalty and for a sneaky stabby. The main thing that's missing here is some sort of visual connection to Shao Kahn. Giving her the same skull motif that's on his belt buckle would have been a neat detail. 6 out of 10. Her Mortal Kombat 3 costume is more complex, but I actually think that's to its detriment, because it doesn't feel as cohesive anymore. Her gloves are short and mostly black, but her boots are tall and mostly blue. Her boots and leotard use triangular shape language, but that's nowhere to be found on her gloves or mask. Her leotard has a black stripe running all the way down, but her boots just have some black patches on the thighs. And there are these straps on her arms that aren't present anywhere else. It's like 3 different costumes got smushed together without any rhyme or reason. I wouldn't call this a bad design, because the individual pieces are fine, it's just muddled. 4 out of 10. Mortal Kombat 4 transitioned from digitized photos to 3D models, but it left Kitana's design unchanged. Since I don't take graphics into account, the same score applies. Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance went in a very different direction. There's some clear influence from her previous designs, but for the most part, she's more secret agent than shinobi. I think that's a promising idea, but the end result is something far more generic than her previous iterations. She looks like she should be the star of some Tomb Raider knockoff from the early 2000s. Between the missing mask and dark palette, there's not much to draw your eye. 3 out of 10. Her alternate costume is more what we would expect from Kitana. She retains her gloves and armbands from the previous 2 games, but the rest of her outfit matches better now. Unfortunately, they got rid of her headband, which is a trend that will carry into most of her future designs. There are also some metal plates on her boots and belt, which I'm conflicted about. On the one hand, they add some variety to a simple design. On the other hand, they seem more modern military than fantasy assassin. But on the other hand, Kitana has been mingling with Earthrealmers, so her taking inspiration from their equipment could be cool visual storytelling. But on the other hand, her main costume is already very modern, and this one is meant to harken back to MK2. I could go on, but I'm pretty sure 4 is the maximum number of hands for a Mortal Kombat character. 5 out of 10. Her Mortal Kombat vs. DC design is essentially just a more detailed version of her classic with a K look, which I think was a smart move because the mask and leotard seem right at home in a superhero universe. There's a lot more black on her palette this time around, which helps sell the stealthy ninja vibes and fits the game's gritty atmosphere. It's nothing amazing, but it's a step up from her previous 3D outings. I still miss the headband though. 7 out of 10. Her Mortal Kombat 9 incarnation looks more like a belly dancer than a ninja. This does make a certain degree of sense as Kitana uses a graceful fighting style, but it renders her less threatening. As is the case for most of MK9's female characters, this is a super skimpy design, which I don't think is very fitting for Kitana's personality or role in the story. Makes a bit more sense for Mileena since... Ah, crap, I never mentioned Mileena! Rewind! He also used her DNA, mixed with that of a bloodthirsty Tarkadan warrior, to create her quote-unquote sister Mileena, with whom she still has a fierce rivalry. Makes a bit more sense for Mileena since she's a femme fatale who's supposed to lure you in and then bite your face off. Giving Kitana a more modest outfit would have furthered the dichotomy between the two. 5 out of 10. Her alternate costume taps into the exact same aesthetics. The only significant difference is that she traded out her mask for some long bell sleeves, which is a downgrade if you ask me, because now you can see MK9's attempt at a human face. I don't know why they gave her two outfits that are so similar. This is just such a missed opportunity to do something unique. 4 out of 10. Her Mortal Kombat X design emphasizes her royal upbringing, and nowhere is this more clear than her elaborate, ornamented hair. She also has some bits and pieces of ornate armor seemingly inspired by those of a samurai. The blousey pants look sort of awkward to me, and like most of MKX, it's begging for a splash of color. But all in all, I like it. 7 out of 10. I'm not going to cover all of the cosmetic changes that her variations make, because frankly, most of them aren't that interesting. But I love the dark makeup on her assassin variation. I'd like to see that show up again in the future. What I will cover are her alternate costumes. First up is her tournament costume, which is similar to her default but quite a bit less complicated. Many consider this the best version of Kitana, and while I don't personally agree, I can see why. It blends the simplicity of her old school designs with the aesthetics of the reboot era to create what feels like a modern take on her original concept. I still don't know what NetherRealm has against her headband though. 7 out of 10. Next up is her Revenant costume. Due to one of her many deaths and resurrections, she has grey skin, glowing eyes, and a cool echoey voice, so she's basically a Malfested from Soulcalibur. The skull in her hair is a neat touch that gives her a macabre vibe, but the rest of her outfit is disappointingly normal. They could have given her a cool gothic makeover or something. Also, what's up with that teeny tiny waistcloth? It's like the size of a receipt. 4 out of 10. Her Dark Empress costume, on the other hand, fully commits the villainous look and is much better for it. Her tall metal collar immediately evokes the image of a vampire or evil queen, and her cowl cleverly combines a crown with demonic horns. My only major complaint is that she really looks nothing like Kitana anymore, although her weapons are recognizable enough that it's not a huge deal. I also think a cape would have been a cool addition, but that might have thrown off her silhouette. 7 out of 10. Lastly, as part of the Samurai pack is her Jingu costume, named for a legendary Japanese empress. It's a simple, somewhat more grounded design, but it stands out for how unlike her other outfits it is. Despite the armor and heavy padding, it isn't too bulky, and the blue and gold accents give it one of the better palettes in MKX. I'd like a bit more flair for armor supposedly inspired by mythological royalty, but it's solid overall. 7 out of 10. In Mortal Kombat 11, Kitana's Revenant form is her default appearance, but I think it makes more sense to start with her human, or rather Adenian self. In many ways, it's a return to form, bringing back her headband, slim silhouette, and classic with a K color palette. But it also incorporates some sharp metal accents so that, just like her fans, there's a dangerous edge to her beauty. Without prior knowledge of Kitana, it would be easy to mistake this for a villainous design, but the heart-shaped cutout on her chest softens her up a bit and implies that she's not an unfeeling assassin. Spoilers for the rest of the video, but I think that this is easily her best costume in the entire series. 10 out of 10. Her Revenant form is similar, but it uses triangular shape language that appears more dangerous and aggressive. Many of her armor's soft curves have been replaced by jagged edges, some of which now resemble devilish wings. It also introduces an element that's been absent from any of her other designs, that being asymmetry, which adds a chaotic, unhinged energy that suits an evil, undead Kitana, especially since some of that asymmetry takes the form of big spikes. This costume sells the idea of a Revenant far better than either of the MKX versions. 9 out of 10. MK11 has a lot of alternate costumes, but most of them are just slight variations of one another, so I'm going to be sticking to the two that shake things up most significantly. First is her Catwoman cosplay, spelled with a K of course. This is part of the Elseworlds skin pack, which is inspired by characters from the DC universe. The sleek black suit and silver accents are super stylish, and I like her long wavy hair. However, I wish it was a little more Catwoman-y. Out of all the Elseworlds skins, it strays the furthest from its comic book counterpart, to the point that I don't think I would guess it was based on Selena Kyle if I saw it out of context. 9 out of 10. Finally, her Endless Summer outfit dresses her in traditional Japanese attire, which I'm surprised took 10 games to happen. I think it's meant to pay homage to the original concept art for Kitana, back when she was still called Kitsune. This is totally unlike anything she's worn in the past, but it makes perfect sense for her character. It's simple, elegant, and a lot more useful than blue spandex for someone who's trying to go incognito. The shade and the pale, flowing fabric remind me of the Painted Lady from Avatar, and if you've got me thinking about Avatar, you're doing something right. 8 out of 10. And with that, we have ranked almost every single Kitana costume. I get the sense that NetherRealm wasn't quite sure what they wanted to do with her after MK4, but in MK11 they knocked it out of the park with all of her designs, so I have a good feeling about what comes next. But that's just my opinion, so what do you think? Let me know in the comment section down below if you agree or disagree with any of my rankings. Also, let me know which character you'd like to see next. For episode 13, we'll be discussing Helix from Soulcalibur, as requested by Ed D. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, I bid thee farewell.